Hey everyone, it's Kai from Kool Collectibles, back again for another figure review, this time the new Sideshow Collectibles R2-D2 Deluxe figure. For all your 1/6 scale figures and more, click the link in the description below to head on over to Sideshow Collectibles. They ship worldwide, so definitely check them out. Just a quick look at the packaging. It's the same sort of style as the black and grey that's standard across most of the higher end Star Wars collectibles, with a photo of the figure there. On this side you get more photographs and a nice photograph of R2 and the diorama piece there. Now this is the exclusive version, and I noticed that it doesn't have the usual Sideshow exclusive sticker, so I'm not sure if they've just forgotten it for this figure or they've decided not to bother putting that on any of the figures from this point on. So that was just a point to note, and it just unflips with some magnets on the side here, and you get the clamshell with the contents that I've already taken out. So it's all collector friendly and fairly nicely packaged in there. So now I'll just give you guys a look at the accessories, and he does come with quite a bit, as you would expect for a deluxe figure. The first thing I'll show you guys is the lightsaber, which is pretty good. You know, I guess in the past Sideshow's paint application has been probably not as good as Hot Toys, but this one's not too bad in terms of sharpness and so on. But I guess, you know, you can see here there's a bit of flashing on the mold there, but overall not too bad. And this doubles as the magnetic tool that you use to open up certain panels and various other things. So that I'll show you guys in a second. So that's pretty cool. He comes with his little restraining bolt, if the camera focuses, and that's fairly nicely painted and weathered with the carbon scoring and so on, so that's all fairly nicely done, and that attaches via a magnet as well. Now he does come with 6 little extension tools, and these 3, this one here is one of the regular version tools, which is the hand grasping one, which I don't think articulates, but again that's fairly nicely painted and detailed. It also comes with this particular looking one. I can't actually remember which one he sticks into the Death Star terminal. I'm not sure if it's this one or one of the other ones, but that's one of the regular ones as well. And then here is another one of the regular ones. I'm not sure if this is the one where he electrocutes Salacious, I think it is. But that's the last of the regular ones. Now the exclusive version comes with these 3, which is one of them is the saw here, which I think is probably the best of the extensions. It's really nicely detailed on the saw end with the sharp edges and so on, and the paint app, and that's nicely done. Then there is this one here, which I'm not sure where in the movie or whatever that he uses, but that's another option. And then there is this fairly simple needle looking thing, which I'm not sure where he uses either. So there are 6 extensions in the exclusive version, and this thing here is the drinks tray tool that sits on top of him. And this one is actually very nicely done with all of these little articulation points and hinges, so it does move and extend at all of those joints, so you just need to be careful in how you move it, but it's all fairly nice and firm, and will hold its position quite nicely. And I'll show you guys how to attach that to the figure in a second. But again, overall very nicely painted with the metallic silver and so on, and the rubber tubing here. It's a nice touch, so that's nicely done. The drinks tray, so all of these come as separate little cups that just plug in, and they are tight, so just be careful how you put them in or pull them off. Looks like they're stuck in there, so I'm not going to try and pull them out again. But essentially there's a little tab at the bottom, and you just squeeze it into a hole in here. And so the drinks tray itself is nicely painted in the sort of weathered bronze or gold colouring. So that's all nicely done, and the cups themselves have have the nice sort of gold patterning and the fake green liquid on the inside. So they all look fairly nice. And then these two are the components that sit over his arms or his legs when he's standing there, and these just fit onto the two tabs here with the two holes there, and they just fit on like so. So I'll show that all set up in a second. But the best accessory, of course, is the Obi-Wan Kenobi little coffee table, I'm assuming it is, that you see in his hut, where the hologram of Leia appears. And so it does come with the holographic layer, which is the clear blue plastic. Now it does fit into this hole here, and it is extremely tight. So be very careful how you insert it and remove it. But it comes separated, and it has this little plug that you just put in there to cover that hole. And so you can sort of leave it like that in that particular part of the scene, and you just use the magnetic tip of the lightsaber and clip it off, and it comes off, and then you can reinsert a layer in there. So I would be very careful in not trying to twist at all, because the plastic is quite flexible, and so you really do run the risk of snapping it off at that particular point. So I would just try and push until it sort of stops at that particular point there. So it is a tight fit, but overall it's not too bad. So once it's attached like that, it does come with a battery, and the on and off feature is just by pressing this, and you press that and the light comes on, and it gives a really nice blue holographic image to Leia. So I really love that they've incorporated this into the deluxe set. And with R2, he also comes with a light feature that I'll show you guys in a second, where his little projector eye can shine on that to recreate that scene. So you just press that and it turns off again. So fantastic accessory there. So I'll just pack this stuff up and show you guys the figure itself. Alright, so here is the figure itself, and overall I think it's a great figure, and it's probably the only R2 that I'll ever need to have in my collection, unless Tamashii Nations really do get off their ass and decide to make a die-cast version. But for this particular representation of him from probably, you know, A New Hope and Return of the Jedi and so on, where he's weathered up and that sort of stuff, it's probably the best representation we're going to get for a long time to come. And on the face of it, it's the paint app itself is pretty good overall, but there are a couple of issues with mine that sort of bummed me out a little bit when I first unboxed it, and I have contacted Sideshow to see if there's anything they can do about it to either send a replacement or something along those lines. And it is fairly minor, but they're fairly obvious in hand, and sort of just annoy me a little bit too much for me to be able to, I guess, accept it as the only R2 figure in my collection. So if you can see here along this particular side, it has these two weird marks along the silver here, and this little flashing scratch here along that side. So and because that's closer to the forward face of him, it's quite obvious when you display, and just annoys me a bit too much. And then there is this sort of weird flashing on this side here as well. Now this one here is I've seen in quite a few photos from other collectors, and so I don't know if that's part of the flashing for where they cut the mold and just painted over it, but this particular one here at the front here is like a little raised, something must have splashed onto the plastic or something, and wasn't exactly painted over nicely or anything like that. So it sort of just breaks up that silver ring, and so they're the only real major paint application issues that I've got. So I'll just have to see what Sideshow can do to help me out on that. But everywhere else, anything that's got some sort of weathering and so on is quite intentional, I think. So just going through that now on his dome. For example, the silver here, along the edge. I originally thought when I first saw the final production photos was that this was some sort of paint application error, or they scratched it or something, but that is actually intentional weathering or scratching there along the blue panels. And you can sort of see a bit of that along each of the blue panels, such as here. You can see the sort of look where they're trying to get the blue paint to come off, and so that's all fairly nicely done overall. I guess some of the silver paint application does seem a little strange in some areas, and so you can sort of see some of the silver paint along here and along that point there, and they've even got some of the silver paint along this internal edge here as well. So I'm not quite sure why they sort of put it in those particular locations and so on, but there's not too big a deal on that. So the paint app on the dome itself is quite nice, and it's not the sort of chromed look, it's the dirty sort of matte finish, which I prefer anyway, and I think is probably a bit more movie accurate to episode 4 at least. The prototype photos on the dome, the seam here that you can see, that seam line, was quite a bit more obvious on the prototype, I thought, and I think they've done a pretty good job in hiding that on the final production figure. So there's another line here, but you can only really see it if it catches the light. In most times, like if I hold it there, you can't really tell. So I think they've done a good job there. What else on the dome? All these little eyes, like the little projector here moves. On this side it moves as well. And I will show you guys the light up feature just now, which is probably one of the best features of the figure itself. So the head rotates along this hinge here, so that's all okay. And to take it off, you pretty much have to hold that lower bit, which was a bit confusing for me at the start, but you just hold that and then just rotate the top part of the dome and lift that off, and it comes apart like so. And underneath here you'll see the battery compartment and the on switch. So if I just switch that on, and you'll see all the little gadgets come off. And then, so once the battery switch is on, it has a little touch sensitive panel on the side here. So you touch it once and it turns on, and the lights are just, they look really amazing. And I love how they change color. I love how this part here has that sort of animation effect and different colors on this light here. So yeah, it just looks like he's really straight out of the movie, to be honest. So they've really done that well. And then you press it again and that turns on his projector light that you can then sort of shine onto the diorama piece like so, which is a really nice effect. And then you just pretty much press it again and it turns off. So once you do have the battery switches switched on, and you're sort of moving the dome around, it does sort of switch on and off if you gently touch that. So if you're not planning on doing that too many times, I'd probably suggest just turning it off with that switch there. So again, yeah, the light features are probably one of the best things that they've done with this particular figure. I guess some people were complaining about no sound effects, and I guess that would have been nice to complement the lights, but not really that big a deal for me. And to put the dome back on, you just line up these little tabs on the front and back here. So there's a large one and a small one. So you just sort of slide that on and then just rotate it to lock it in place. And there you have it. So that's pretty much the light up features. What are the other features? The overall weathering on the white components is really nicely done. I don't know if my camera's actually picking that up all that well, but it does have like a dirty wash all the way over, which progressively gets darker as you get closer to his feet, which is what you'd expect really in the real sort of character, and you know, him going around the sand and so on. So I think they've done a really good job in sort of that black outlining and the weathering on there, and I think that's why he'll probably complement their 3PO, the Sideshow 3PO, which is weathered, rather than the Tamashii 3PO that's pretty much pristine. So the paint app overall on all the paneling and so on, yeah, I'd have to give them pretty big rating on that one. So I'm definitely happy with all of that. One of the other sort of special features they put in were these little shoulder components. Apparently in the movie, which I never really noticed, there was some sort of continuity issue where some of these panels might have been swapped, and so pretty much what you do is you just get your fingernails in there and just gently, I think it was easier on this side, just gently pull them off, and they're held in by these 3 pegs there, and you can swap them around and just recreate whichever version of the scene you want. And I'll probably just leave it with those facing forward, I guess, so no big deal there for me. The figure, the feet, it would have been nice, I think, if they had made these some sort of cable type material or thin sort of material that was that looked metallic, but I think they're just plastic, or yeah, they must be plastic tubing of some sort that they've just sort of painted in that metallic brown bronze color. So yeah, that would have been a nicer bit of detail, but not too bad the way that they've done it. The articulation, the legs and feet are fairly tight. This one here is probably the loosest out of them all, but moving them around isn't really too big a deal. Now the foot here at the front articulates in that direction, and all you do is push it up until the spring locks like so, and that holds it up in that up position. Then you pretty much, I think you just press it and it comes down, and I think you might be able to sort of keep it in that position, which I think is probably a bit more movie accurate, I heard, where it's not so far down, but to really lock it in place you just pull it down and move it like that, and on display it you can't really tell if it's pulled down too far or not, so I think that's okay. Alright, so moving on to all of the uses of the attachments and the lightsaber. Maybe I'll start with the dome. So I'll just straighten him up here a little bit and put that back in. Right, so on the dome, let me just zoom down. So you have various compartments in here. So I think most of them are open by finger pushing. Now this top bit here is where you just pretty much open that up like so, and that is the connection point for the drink tool, and so I'll put that on last. So whilst he's there like so, you pretty much take your drinks tray with the shoulders and just place them over like so, and then you just insert that joint in there, gently wriggle it in, and then you can just articulate this and pose it up to mimic that scene on Jabba's sail barge. So that's a nice option if you want to do that, particularly if you've got the Sideshow Jabba throne set and so on. That would make for an awesome display. So that's that feature. The other parts of the dome, let me see which one. I think this one here is the hardest to do. I think that one there is where you can store the lightsaber. So they say that you just hold that in and then push to the side, and I've never really been able to do it. Oh, actually that was the wrong one. That's the life sensor, I think it is. So you just all I did there was push that down. So you push it down again to lock it in place, push that down to open it up, and then the instructions tell you to use this to gently push that down, and that'll pop up like so. And then I think you can gently pull it out, and that's his little, I think that's his little life sensor that he uses on Hoth, I think, trying to detect Luke or something like that. And then you just rotate it and gently push it down. All of these do feel a little fragile, so you just got to be gentle and not break anything. So as you can see, it's a little bit difficult to lock in. So there we go, it's locked in now. And then you just close that up and try and lock that in as well, like so. The panel that you have to press and drag to the right, I'm not sure which one that is. This one here is another push one where I think that's his, I don't know what that is, the camera on in Dagobah or something, perhaps. I can't actually quite remember. But that one sort of locks in place fairly well. No, oh, there we go. And you can rotate that around and then just gently push it back in place. So I'm trying to find where the lightsaber one is. So the lightsaber one must be this one at the front here. So I think what they say you do is you just push that down and I don't know, I have pretty fat fingers, so I'm just going to use a toothpick. So you just push it to the side and there's a little hole in there and with a little ring inside, a spring inside, and you can't put that in there. And I'm not going to bother trying because the gap is very small and I've heard it's pretty difficult to try and get it back out, so I'm not going to bother using that feature. But that I think covers all the features of the dome itself. So moving on to the front, let me just lower this. So moving on to the front, pretty much every panel opens with this magnet. So these two blue things at the front here open up like so. So that's, I can't even remember what he did with that in the movie, unless he was just opening up every panel when he got zapped. But they open like so. He has the panels on both sides here that you open up like so. And what these have, if you can see, there's a little arm here. And I'll just use my toothpick again. And you just sort of flick that arm out. Just be gentle of the hinge. And that is on a hinge, if you can see, that you can then sort of raise up and down. So there is a little hinge at the back, or a joint there, that attaches to this vertical pole, and that's the same on both sides. So I'll just use my toothpick here and open this one up. I'm just worried about the thinness and the fragility of the connection points here, but they're not too bad. And then of course what you do then is grab the tip of that and stick it in the tip, and I think that is it. And you can grab the saw, for example, and stick it in like so. So that's a couple of the panels there. There's a panel here as well, which has like a little hole there, which I'm assuming you can then stick one of the attachments in. The hole seems fairly tight, so I'm not going to force it too much, but you get the idea there. And there's a panel here which just looks like some sort of internal detail that you can sort of see on the camera. So I'm not sure if any of the attachments fit on there, but I think that covers all the panels. So let me just take them all off. So essentially just close that up, close it up. They all close fairly well and easily. So you just sort of raise that up on that pole, gently push that arm down if you can, and just rotate it in, and then just close that panel up like that. So just fold that down gently and close that panel up. So they all hold fairly well without any major issue. Now on the back, I'm not sure if there's any paneling on the back, so I can't seem to open any points there. So I think that pretty much covers all the accessories. Oh, I guess with the restraining bolt here, you just stick it to wherever the magnetic points are. So that pretty much covers R2. So overall, I'm definitely happy to finally have an R2 in the collection. It goes perfectly with, you know, the Tamashii 3PO, and I'm sure will complement the weathered version from Sideshow coming, I think, in November or December this year. So together they'll be pretty awesome on display. So hopefully I can get the little marks and so on resolved with Sideshow. I know they're only minor, but I don't know, they just annoy me a bit too much than I would like. So hopefully you guys like that review, and hopefully you guys get yours soon, because I think you know, the port delays in LA sort of held them up for pretty much everyone around the world. So hopefully everyone will be getting theirs over the next couple of weeks. So definitely, I'm sure all you Star Wars fans will definitely love it, and I'm glad to have it in my collection. So thanks again. Hope you can click that subscribe button. I've got the NECA Alien Queen and a few Transformers reviews, and even more stuff coming up later in the year. And even the Sideshow Hoth is on its way soon as well. So hopefully you can subscribe and stay tuned for all of those reviews coming up. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers. Bye.